But everyone, it's 6 o'clock, like to go ahead and call the Coach February gathering to order. I think I'm pleased by the pledge of allegiance and following pledge of allegiance. I'd like to take the paper number signs, those perfect permission by display. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, the nation under God, civil, justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Right, so about the agenda for today, recently, I wish to put that agenda for tonight. As and Schultz about the minutes recently, is there going to be minutes from January? Second. Yes. All right, starting with staff reports, we want to start with fire.
Evening, everybody. My name is Matt Bowen. I run out of Firehouse Food. Chief Ritter normally does your presentations. Brooke has this, which was monthly data information. It has a pretty thorough breakdown of each division within the Wichita Fire Department. So that's available if you give it Brooke. I have some handouts here, some additional information that basically have response statistics for District 4 as this past month compared to the previous month, December, and then the last quarter of 2024. Additionally, several safety messages in this, normally here with DAP 6 and DAP 3 and I would preach it at every single day meeting I went to every public meeting. Employment before you those programs. Chief O'Kady's and our community risk reduction division have implemented this several years ago. And it's to educate the public on the simple act of closing the best non-isolate you and protect you from both the toxic gases, smoke and fire. Hardcore bakery door, in 10, 15 minutes. You have a complete burnout in your home or another portion of the home, and it looks pristine in your business. So before you go, your fire department, we do target searches. If your normal route into or out of the house is blocked, we're going to be targeting surgical stations at your bedrooms and any other place that we can get in and search. The firefighters are trained extensively on this. We have the PPE that the taxpayers and the city provides for us, the training, and the number one reason we're here is for the lives. Stabilizing the incident, keeping it from spreading and protecting property, taking this and second and third to our citizens' lives. We know why we exist. So closing before you doze, simple act, close your bedroom door, your children's bedroom doors can make all the difference in the world. And we've all heard since we was little, smoke detectors. Every bedroom needs a smoke detector, common area in their home needs smoke detectors. The rule of thumb was, you check it when you change the clocks, fall and spring. This should be a monthly check. Check to make sure it works. If you have an issue where your smoke detector don't work, they go out of date, and you need assistance, Chief O'Kady's and Prevention Division, which is listed, contact information is listed in here, 268-4441. We're the program through Wichita Fire Department that we can assist citizens with getting, not only getting the smoke detectors, but getting them installed. So it's something that we as a community, being stressed more than we do, but, you know, Chief and Case and his team is doing a phenomenal job. So, with that said, I'm finished. Is there any questions you may have? Questions, Seth? All right.
I do have one question.
Yes,
Is that the sound the alarm we're talking about?
close before you
No,
doze.
the sound the alarm for the smoke alarms,
Okay,
the installation for smoke alarms.
yes.
So is that in all areas or just the target zip code?
So that is, they do a case by case. You know, there's some discretion there. You know, are they gonna go to $1 million home? And install smoke detectors? You know, probably not. But if family's struggling to get their smoke detectors, or we have, you know, for whatever reason, mobility issues or something, we can't install them, you know, we're gonna be there. And Chief Cade's team downtown, they evaluate, but the people in the community that need the assistance, it's available, you can start on it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, have a good night.
You'll just ask.
I'm kind of here, so they can't see my whole head and. You go ahead and get up to that.
Oh, okay, so Officer Perkin backed up the stats here on the table for everything, from month to month. Looking pretty good, there's always some alarming numbers on things, like when you look at Roberts, said we're up 50%, where we had 3 cases compared to 2, so it's obviously a big number. It's not. If you look at 90 days, 3 months, there's obviously everything's down, and then what we like to look at is obviously past history, from the years past. The most alarming thing that we have right now is on the 5-year average is the burglary case. For the Patrol South section, we're having an increase in burglary in storage facilities. I have done a lot of work with those ones in GAP4. The Patrol South Bureau, we are trying to see what they can do to enhance their security for their facilities. That costs a lot of money, obviously, but that's gonna be one of the best ways to help prevent all these places. So so once you get them. That's one of the targets that we're looking at. Then obviously wintertime, a slight increase in auto thefts, and the common trend you with that is vehicles warming, people leaving them unattended. It's not the sole purpose, but when I review all the auto theft cases that come to my area, that definitely some aspect. We did have 22 recruits graduate, 2 weeks ago. They're now field trained. It'll be 4 months of working with a senior officer before they're out on their own. We had 29 recruits start the academy last week. We had 1 that just had 8. We're still obviously trying to continue with our staffing. Still short. So upcoming events that we will be putting a lot of resources to. I don't have detail on it, but I'll get to the department here next month in March. Big focus, much like the DC thing, it won't be doing anything. Like the congregation, we won't be getting the staff. A lot of resources for us. Right. So, the last thing I'm gonna touch on, was the economy in out west, that's technically the Perkins area, that we work with as well. There's a particular question about that, was the state news and media coverage, and bring us any about that, the state fire. It's like the bad guys, but the kind of so I have South, you know what I mean?
Actually, I have economy on my, economy on mine too. I'll touch a little bit more. On January 15th is when we went out and did the initial inspection with the state fire marshal on that. And then it was 2 days later that we came in and the state fire marshal did a cease and desist on that property. All the guests, occupants, friends, everybody else had to leave. We did have transit buses and officers that would transport the individuals that were there. They do have to bring up all the violations. They're currently out there working on it with a crew of 4 from a construction company. There's there's no telling when that's gonna be up. In 2024, there were over 500 calls for services connected to that hotel. These all included shootings, fatal overdoses, and anything else from parking tickets, stolen autos, to I mean, anything in between. And I don't have what would be considered the boundaries of this, but 30% of all the calls in this vicinity were connected to that hotel. Like I said, they're out there working. I have some a storage unit on my deed also, 3800 West Douglas, that's kind of having the same issue. It dropped down in the last couple months. But we've had reports there also. And to touch on upcoming events, they'll probably hit on it next month, but we're also gonna have the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is I think on Saturday the 15th. That's gonna be in Delano. It's a yearly thing, it's a very large parade. We'll have resources down there too for that.
Any questions?
Why does the state fire marshal get involved versus our fire for that, for the closing of that?
We're the fire.
Oh,
Was still here, the best I could tell you, but it may be different.
That's a question, honestly, too. That's a question we don't know. You wouldn't be working out there, and I was, and I got a phone call that said just be at this location at that time. So honestly, I don't know why they chose to do it. It's also right before a cold spell came in. But that's pretty good. So it's lose situation.
Well, the it's the Department of Agriculture for the state that actually runs the licensing for hotels as well, so. That could be why.
Thank you, everybody.
Next library.
Those know me, I'm the legacy Garrison, was an outcome branch manager.
Our January attendance, I have no idea how many we had come in. Took us about a week to get the gate counter moved, and once we did, somebody came in and busted it, so we're working on getting that replaced. After circulation, we did circulate 5,024 items in January, which was more than I expected. But down about 1,800 from what we did the previous year. All Wichita Public Library locations will be closed on Monday, February 17th for President's Day. The Read ICT Challenge is in effect right now, or so if you haven't signed up to do it. It's a neat way to do every month read a different book. And at the end of it, there's some prizes that go out with it. So if you are interested in reading, it can be ebooks too. So there's some bookmarks back on the people back there. Some other things happening in February, on Wednesday, February 19th. Dr. Latasha Kelly is presenting a keynote lecture on how to foster more meaningful engagement with the Black community by consistently honoring Black culture and experiences all year round. That'll be down at the Advanced Learning Library downtown. The Academy Award shorts are going to be shown this year, starting on Sunday, February 23rd at the All. 1:15 to 5. There'll also be at Evergreen Branch on Thursday, February 27th from 4:30 to 7:45. And then the whole every short that we got or that there's going to be in the Oscars, they'll have one big showing of it on Saturday, March 1st from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So downtown at the All, so you'll be able to sit and go through 9 hours of the Oscars. If you one of the things that we get to do here that most places don't ever get is seeing those before they're actually the winners are announced. So, also on Tuesday, February 25th, there will be a doc and talk at the Walters Branch Library on birthing justice, addressing issues fueling the maternal health crisis within the Black community while advocating for birthing equality for all women, and a brief discussion will follow that showing. And see some updates for the library itself. Our story time for kids 0 through 5 is being held at Machinist Union, and they've been very supportive of us and helpful things are helping us over there. So some of the things, we have some pictures, like not yet have them done. But you have the driveway from the library to the YMCA Road forward. So it'll be about a month before they are able to actually open it up for use. So we'll have to wait a little bit. I think they're still also talking between the city and the YS to whether it should be there or not. So. But that's, so I'm assuming it's done since they actually went and poured the concrete. I hadn't heard, so we have a meeting tomorrow, so. I'm sure of that. They've, basically everything's been stripped out of the main part of the library. They've dug or cut out the concrete to put the electrical ductwork in the bottom for the new places that they're needing for the new rooms. And then, they re-poured that with concrete. Today they started with the framing of the new, rooms, so it's getting noisy in there, a little dusty. And that is pretty much everything I have on that, so any questions or? So,
We're all close to during construction.
they're still in the library, we got about 11% in the old meeting room, we used to have our meetings, we were able to put about 10 to 15% in there. Depending on the collection, or, you know, that's what they should more into. Others are stored in boxes. Right now, all the shelving and all the boxes are in the children's room, and the children's area of the library. Once they finish the, basically the adult side of it done, they'll move all that out, then they'll go in and do the same for the children's. That's how I was fortunate with what we're doing. Then we started on the painting, I think, of the mural in March. So that's, we're looking forward to that. And any other questions or anything, staff? Other? Great, thank you. Is it here, city commissioners? We've got an announcement, pass them around.
Public agenda, at the moment, section and not off-agenda items, present present and not speak on the public agenda for this, but speak at the time.
I'm present. I didn't request. I didn't know I was gonna be here tonight. When you get down to the end of the meeting, I'll, then how's that? Or are you there?
No, we're here.
Oh.
And I.
We're here at the portion for public comment.
Oh, okay.
Take your name and area you did.
Jim Underwood, I live on South St. Paul, just below Douglas. I only have two things tonight. I'm probably gonna go real fast. I know they're going to be thought provoking and probably tell a lot of conversation in the future. But that's for them, not interrupting more tonight. I would like to address the city on dealing with home security systems. And while they're very necessary, in my neighborhood, we now got a rather large number of people who put in the systems. Unfortunately, they spend more time watching the other houses than they do watching their yards. They're actually set up on the houses and they shoot clear across the streets. We had one gentleman put a system in that he hooked up a air horn off a railroad engine to signaling when somebody was in the yard. He is now gone. He did that because he's selling some illicit substances and kind of got the wrong side of the law. And he had a camera set up in a birdhouse, as a matter of fact. We have another gentleman who kind of complained about when a neighbor put up a fence across the alley from behind me. It blocked his cameras from seeing the other streets, one block over. Which of course goes past 6 houses to get there, and he was on the west side of the street. We have another gentleman who he bought the system, no question about that. Had a motion sensor on it, but he set the light up so when it comes on, it blinds the drivers on the street. And it is a large spotlight. And last but not least, I have a third neighbor that if his porch light is on, he's filming your house. He's got cameras in the porch light and it shoots 180 degrees. And while people are entitled to protect their yards, no question about it, protect their homes, I think the city needs to look at some guidelines for establishing that the sensors and lights should not go past the edge of the street to public parking. They can, everything from their end of their house, they need to look at.
But what's going on in the houses across the street? I really don't think they're anybody's business with the people who are in those houses. Now, I will say I haven't had problems with these people. I was very blunt to them. I said, look at my windows, we're gonna have an issue. So they haven't bothered me with it. But, they just constantly watch the entire neighborhood. I think home systems need to protect the home. And neighborhood systems, if those want to come up, need to be dealt with a different way. That's all I had on that. Now I'm gonna go to my second issue. Okay? This is on an issue of neighborhood cleanups. And I have been involved with them a few years now, because I dropped out of the association. And the association in my neighborhood is now gone. It was Sunflower, it was gone. They've been having problems with neighborhood cleanups for 10 years, I know of. And quite bluntly, Wichita was created as a frontier town in the 1870s. Back then, people had the common sense, you don't beat a dead horse, it's not gonna get you anywhere. Every year, over and over, we were dealing with, how do we do the cleanups? Because they weren't automatic, they weren't going to happen. And then I got out of it and I've talked to people, they still have that way. We don't have people, we don't have staffing. Don't have a place to collect that, many things. So what I'm gonna suggest is the city needs to get away from the dead horse. The old system isn't working. It's definitely not working smoothly. It can be forced to work, but it's not smooth. So pick a small group, and I say small, to come up with a new system, present it for discussion and work. I stress small, like 1 to 3 people, because we try to get 10, 15 people together. And then you gotta meet with other people in the city or the county. It's just gonna be a problem. You have 1 to 3 people, they can get together and meet. They don't make the final decisions, they just put everything together and submit it to the next step in the process. It's not gonna be quick, it's not gonna be easy, it's not gonna be 1 month from now, we've got something. But neither was the original one when we created neighborhood cleanups, and while I only moved back to Wichita 15 years ago, I was here back in the 80s, so I know what it developed. And I think we just need to start over and go with a fresh look. I can't tell you who to put on the committee. I can tell you the people you don't want on the committee. Anybody who within the first 5 minutes starts complaining about staffing and personnel, never get on the committee. We're not worried about what happened in the past. We're worried about what's going forward. Anybody who is a public employee, city, county, whatever, who said, I should be on there because I'm such an employee, you don't want them on there. And with people who want the job done in the future, not worried about how set up they are and recognize they are. In other words, the people in this little group that I'm suggesting to you should just do the work and then get out of the way. You gotta get a particular person that'll do that. Don't care about the publicity, they just want to get the job. Because driving around, it's unbelievable with how trashy some of the neighborhoods get. And I would say my neighborhood for one, mattresses, box springs, divans, sofas, piles of junk, metal junk, piles of wood. It's just unbelievable. And tires, there are tires everywhere. So I'm just suggesting we need a new way to do it. Pick a group and go forward. That's all I had on that. I know it's gonna be snowball in the future, but that's not gonna be my problem. It's gonna be yours.
Well, no, thank you, Jim. Appreciate you coming out, especially your opinion out here. For the board.
Yes.
I live in your neighborhood,
Oh.
so I know exactly what you're up against. And I made a recommendation 3 or 4 months ago in regards to all these couches and mattresses. Okay. Get the city to pick it up and add it to the water bill. Okay, we got to figure out a way to pay for it. If it's on that property, it goes on the water bill. Everybody gets a water bill, so you can't be exempt. Okay, so
Everybody gets a water bill, and what do you do about the midnight dumpers?
okay, it's still on your water bill. I'm sorry, but your street and my street, because I live on Gordon, it has enough traffic up there that somebody sees something, okay?
So well, you know, but believe it or not, I think they're blind in the middle of the night. They never see it.
Well, I do sleep in the middle of the night.
But why?
You wanna see something even more like that, though, right to the end of St. Paul where it meets up against Kellogg. And that's my next door neighbor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he's got half the damn street blocked because he keeps his junk there. If you wanted to pull into the church, he could.
Yeah, because years ago, I went, I neighborhood cleanup, and we used the church parking lot. Sure. For the cleanup. Sure. We could get through all the streets. I drove that area just the other day, and it's difficult. And what do you do?
So I'm on your side, I've seen it.
So I know Brooke and I were feverishly taking notes. We'll follow back up with what our current ordinances regarding home security systems are, and if there are any, because half the time we have ordinances, people just may not follow them. So we'll let you know what ordinances are currently there, and maybe if there are needed exemptions for it. And the neighbor cleanups, Brooke is in charge of neighbor cleanup programs for the city right now. But I think she would probably echo that we're always trying to figure out
How to make it work?
well, yeah, and I mean, there's probably more challenges in the past couple of years, especially since COVID. Especially getting, like you said, volunteers, people doing it, and maybe we look at how to do the system differently. So Brooke and I can talk about that. I imagine that's something that she talks about with her boss as well. And so we'll circle back and follow up regarding both those. Does Brooke have your information? I know I do, Sandler.
I think you do. Don't you, Brooke?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, but we'll follow up in
Thanks,
regards to.
Sorry, I was looking at you.
No,
No. And thanks for speaking of public comment. That's what exactly the public comment's supposed to be, things that are not on the agenda. So this is perfect.
Well, I couldn't come 1 2, 3 months ago, so I just made it tonight.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being engaged.
Yes, thank you. You're great. This is applicant will put conditional use to allow daycare general as a use on property zone SF5 within residential. These properties are located at 2801 South Seneca Street and 1121 West Regal Street. And they're developed with the church and parochial school associated with the church. Daycare general is the daycare center that provides care, protection, supervision to more than 12 individuals at any one time. And daycares are subject to supplementary use regulations in the Unified Zoning Code, which state conditions that are listed in the staff report. The applicant is requesting conditional use for 2 separate properties. The 2801 South Seneca Street address is where the daycare would be mainly located. That's where the church is. However, there would be times when the children at the daycare would be led across West Regal Street to the 1121 West Regal Street address. So the applicant is requesting the daycare general for both locations. The supplementary use regulations state that off-street parking requirements can be met when the daycare is located within the existing church or place of worship by a shared parking agreement. However, convenient off-street buildings must be provided for to feel that the church has all of those things. And because daycare general is considered a civic use and not a residential use, it will be required to provide screening and landscaping along the north property lines. The 2801 South Seneca Street property, where it's adjacent to SF5 zoning district. Sufficient screening currently exists along the west property line, and planning staff believes the distance in the school building at 1121 West Regal Street, the adjacent residentially zoned properties, the west is sufficient, not requiring additional screening or landscaping because it's at least 150 feet away. If we can go through the zoning map. First. That's the site plan, another site plan, that's aerials.
This one.
Yeah.
Whoa, slow down.
Yep, just keep going.
The character of the neighborhood is residential and commercial property to the north of 2801 South 70th Street. Is zoned SF5 in GO General Office District. Is developed with an office building and associated parking lot. Properties to the east. Across South 70th Street are zoned LC and are developed with a restaurant, vehicle repair center, grocery store, and office buildings. Properties to the south of the West Regal Street property are zoned SF5. Are developed with single family dwellings, and then properties to the west of both properties are zoned SF5. Are developed with single family dwellings. In 1951, the 2801 Seneca Street property was platted as part of the Martinson's 10th edition. In 1973, the property did receive a variance to reduce the required front yard setback from 25 feet to 0 feet for off-street parking. And in 1979, it also received a use variance to permit a daycare center on the property. This new action they're requesting for the conditional use will not contradict the BVA in 1979, but will overlay it and permit a daycare for the school property as well. In 1954, the 1121 West Regal property was platted as part of the Iowa Falls Garden Condition replat. And in 1964, the property received a variance to reduce the front setback from 25 feet to 0 feet. And the side yard setbacks from 12.5 feet to 0 feet. In 2015, the property did receive a sign code adjustment to permit a monument sign with electronic message board. As far as public services, the subject properties are currently accessed by South Seneca Street and West 27th Street. They are also accessed by West Regal Street. Site is served by municipal services such as water and sewer. And Wichita Transit serves the site that stops directly in front of the church at 2801 South Seneca Street. If we can scroll down to the future growth map, perfect, thank you. The requested conditional use is in conformance with the community investments plan. The growth concept map identifies the site as appropriate for commercial uses. And while the plan's future growth map does not address public or civic uses within the commercial category, daycares as defined in the unified zoning code, the intensity of the proposed use is akin to a light commercial setting. It is also in conformance with the Wichita Places for People plan. The plan aims to improve the economic feasibility of commercial service uses and the markets necessary to support them by granting the conditional use. It improves the site's economic feasibility of the site by utilizing the existing building. And if we can go to the site, I think there's been quite a few, but this is looking south across 2801 Seneca Street. And then this is looking west towards the site across Seneca. This is looking east away from the site. And that's looking north away from the Seneca site. Scroll down. This is looking west away from the Seneca site, and this is looking south into the Regal site. This is looking west at the school at Regal, and then this is looking west across Seneca Street into the school area. And I think maybe one more. Oh, that's it. So staff does recommend the application be approved, so the commission list and staff report. These are based off the open rules, and we've received no public comment there. So with that, I can stand for any questions.
Any questions from staff? You said there was no public comment.
No.
Questions from public? So there's none, is there a motion to approve with listed conditions? I make a motion to approve with listed conditions.
So is that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
On favor, aye.
Very much.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's about 8.
Hey,
Mhm.
okay.
Thank you. I would do. I didn't hear any denials online, right?
No denial, just a yes on my amendment.
Okay.
Man, this was a super easy one. We're gonna get out. I'll leave my remarks for like 5 minutes. So thanks for being here. Also, I'm glad to see new daycare facilities too. That's super exciting. That's one of the biggest challenges facing the community. So thank you to St. Anne's for stepping up for that and to rezoning their area. Okay, so brief updates this next week or tomorrow and council, actually, the next couple weeks are gonna be pretty boring, which is probably a really good thing. The only exciting thing is, or the only maybe contentious thing, maybe not exciting, is not the right word. Crown Uptown, we're gonna be hearing the expansion of Crown Uptown tomorrow. I imagine that'll be, it's not contentious because we don't have public comment on those, but that's probably, we've got a lot of public comment one way or the other. Crown Uptown's looking at expanding. The neighbors, I don't want to say all neighbors, a majority of the neighbors are concerned about expansion because of parking. There's also some safety concerns about expanding, I think from 800, I don't know the exact amount. So don't quote me, but I think it's 800 to closer to 2,000 expansion. So pretty large expansion. And we'll be voting on that tomorrow. For people that don't know, the council acts as quasi judicial judges when it comes to zoning cases like that. And so just like you, when these cases come before this board, we're supposed to be impartial before it comes to the council as well and hear both sides. So we're doing that tomorrow. Exciting updates about South Lakes. An RFP went out for the development of South Lakes. It closes in 30 days, I believe. There's two groups that have expressed interest about redeveloping part of South Lakes for programming. That's a rugby association has expressed interest, and they're looking at a long-term capital plan of multi-million-dollar investments, which is a huge win compared to, I think, what the plan at South Lakes previously was. Excuse me. I'm not contagious anymore. I was sick the past couple of days. And then in addition, there's an outdoorsy group that's looking at like outdoors programming. They do urban outdooring. They have a program in Kansas City, and it's been wildly successful, so they want to expand it to Wichita. So I know two groups that are going to look at applying for the RFP, and multiple groups to be accepted in that process as well. Pawnee Prairie Park, I met with the mounted unit, the police department, and Parks and Recreation about relocating our mounted unit from the very far northeast, almost Butler County, in a rental facility to building a facility at Pawnee Prairie Park. We're trying to break down the schematics of what it would cost and maybe look at some funders for that project. We've got $800,000 in allocated money for security for the park already. Some of that will have to be used to probably tear down the current pavilion there. It's incredibly dilapidated. I think I showed it just previously, but that seems to be moving forward in some ways. The city council will be hearing in the next couple of weeks a golf cart ordinance again. We heard it previously. Long story short, because I think the media unsurprisingly did not report correctly on the matter. The state currently prohibits golf carts completely in the state of Wichita. What the city council did previously, because we need to get to 4 votes, is allow some uses of golf carts in the city. It'd be 30 miles an hour, not on artillery streets. You gotta be 18 years old. It still would be the most restrictive in the state, but currently as it stands, golf cart usage in the city is illegal. It will come back before the city council in, I think, a month and a half after all the district advisory boards hear it. I decided to not have our district advisory board hear it from staff presentation because my mind is made up. I believe that people should be able to drive it universally. not universally. They shouldn't drive on artillery streets or on highways. But I think that our current restrictions are unnecessarily prohibitive. And so Jamie Johnson, myself are trying to push less prohibitive use of golf carts and cross our artilleries or artillery. I always get the arterial. I always pronounce it wrong. Arterial street, not artillery, very different. Streets. That it can just be a licensed driver, they don't need to be 18. And then oddly, the last thing that we passed to get up to 4 votes prohibited in the downtown core. That didn't make sense to me. I would love to, I don't have a golf cart personally, but I would love to drive one from my house to the Monarch. And it's strange that in the downtown core that would be prohibited, so that would include Delano, Old Town, and those areas. So I wanted to see if there's any thoughts, if anybody wanted to try to change my perspective as well.
Would they be following street path? No.
It'd be street path. Street path on, it's a good question, actually, 'cause downtown has different bike paths. That's a good question that I'll get clarification for. On other sides, if you're going down normal 30-mile-an-hour residential streets, then it would be on street. Downtown,
Because the cap is first spot,
do what?
the cap on the street that they can do, that
It's
is 30 or 35.
30, I think it's the proposed. Right now it's in speculation, so we're open to, we're still gonna be hearing it again
But I think Derby has it.
at 35.
I think such areas.
I'll look at that.
I think it's pretty cool. I'm all for it. And so I looked at the price of them. 3,000. I think, but the issue is like, we already have issues. And pedestrians getting hit by bikes or cars hitting bikes themselves. So with adding a different type of LED, there is a.
How long is insurance cover those?
You think,
Yeah.
insurance companies are getting more and more strict.
Yeah.
And so since it's not a licensable secondary vehicle for them, will insurance is covering the same. And medical, yeah, like,
I know that the original ordinance we passed did require them to have insurance on it. I will verify that it's still in that in upcoming language that's gonna come. So 35 is what you said Derby's is.
like 90% sure.
I'll look at that.
I don't know how they would enforce it anyway. We don't have enough police officers. How are you gonna enforce it?
We're not enforcing it, right?
They're not gonna be able to enforce it. Secondly, the age restriction should be, you can allow 15, 16-year-olds running down Kellogg in a 4,000-pound bullet on their cell phone. But you're gonna require an 18-year-old on golf course, please.
If I could.
Yeah.
Keith Ford, I'm the lieutenant over the traffic protection. And to that specific point, you're right, you can have a 16-year-old drive a 3/4 ton pickup truck down Kellogg, it's
On their phone.
on their phones, like 70, 80 miles an hour. However, those vehicles have protections that the golf cart doesn't. They got airbags, they got crumple zones.
They're still getting killed every day.
But an accident is more survivable in that pickup truck. than it is.
I don't believe that. I
Well,
don't believe that at all, because it won't run over 30 miles an hour.
I had the unfortunate, time with a coworker when I was a school research officer at Heights.
Mhm.
And his daughter, who was 13, rolled a golf cart, she's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, just rolled with it one time. Sure. There was no other vehicle involved. And 13-year-old shouldn't. Especially in the golf cart. That's why a lot of those proposed changes, lap belt, slow moving placard in the back of the vehicle. A lot of those restrictions are built in for safety purposes to protect children, not adults, to protect children. 16-year-old can,
Children shouldn't be driving the thing in.
they shouldn't, that's why our restrictions should be there. for individuals,
18 is not a restriction, sir.
and that's your opinion. But again, if a 6-year-old is gonna drive a golf cart, what are they gonna drive it to?
Swimming pool.
Most have.
Because most of those are in the golf course communities.
But again, we were just saying that they're gonna be doing 35 miles per hour. You know, that means 35 miles per hour.
You know, you got those bicycles with those 1 gallon gas cans on them that are running 35 miles an hour down Maple Street.
I do have a question, and you may not know this answer. What is there an age restriction for our, the scooters that are going around town right now?
The little.
Yeah, like the line, there's no age restriction for those. Do you know how fast they can go up to?
We cap it like 15. Yeah, I think they're back.
Under 20, okay. Well,
Yeah, I got a question. What are we building these 8 and 10 foot wide sidewalks for? Especially, I live out by Auburn Hills. And people drive their golf cart from Rainbow Lakes and Auburn Hills down to the golf course because we got these 8 foot wide sidewalks. You know, why do we need an 8 foot wide sidewalk if we, you know, aren't gonna let golf carts on it?
I don't know if that's industry standard now. Kelly, serving on the Bicycle Ped Advisory Board. Do you know that answer?
The idea of the wider multi-purpose path is to provide enough distance between a bicycle and a pedestrian. Safe to pass. If you're on a 4 foot sidewalk, it gets awfully crowded. Once with a person, possibly a dog, all that, it gets pretty claimed out. So the multi-purpose path is just to provide.
That's just standard city right now from 4 to 8.
I don't know that. But it actually comes, I believe the whole idea came from the feds. Originally, I mean, that's what they're doing.
Everybody, this is Kelly. He's the 14th Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board. I know I butchered that.
You're fine.
They're in charge of bicycles, pedestrians. Captain Ford, do you have anything else to say?
Lieutenant, but
Oh, Lieutenant, sorry.
sorry.
There's so many different titles. I think I mistitle everybody.
Nope, if, I can, you guys any other questions? I know.
That's what the, public discourse is. The original, recommendations brought forward, to the city council were in consultation with the police department, were in consultation, and their job is safety. That is their task. And then our job from the bench is to balance that with a whole host of other factors as well. And so, while there are a lot of really good things that I appreciated about, the ordinance that was originally drafted, there are some things I think were burdensome. And so there's some things that I want to change. I'm not fine with total age restriction, but I would be comfortable with 16 if somebody's taken their driver's test, they've taken their permitting test, and they at least know how to operate on the road. I feel a little more comfortable. 13-year-old doesn't know how to operate on the road. Now, if they're in their neighborhood, are we enforcing them? Probably not, as long as they're not reckless. And that's most of it. We're not actively enforcing this current.
You allow 15 minutes.
That's up for discussion. So that I'm interested in hearing feedback from you all regarding those. Those are things that I'm open to discussion points on right now. There's current prohibition, 0 tolerance in the city based on state law. The ordinance that was passed and then tabled, so it was passed first reading and then tabled, was 18 years old. So it would have allowed some use of it. And so I'm open to other discussions.
So if it's a motor vehicle, the state says that a 15-year-old with a permit is not to drive to and from school, work, and church. So I don't think that would be contrary to.
Well, they could drive that 7,280 yards over there at the golf course, but they can't drive on the street. That's what you said.
But there's no.
But the problem is like.
But there's creeks and ponds, and ridges and everything.
That's the difference.
It's,
You can drive whatever you want on your.
that's public property. Awning Prairie is public property. So,
Okay,
Auburn Hills is public property.
I think at that point you need to.
yeah, yeah, but it's 15, 16, 17, 18, it changes often. So
15.
I think I could drive in those 14, but at least
Go to
school.
farm,
They slow it down.
in your fucking.
And it's changed, okay?
Go to a farming community, you'll find out what's legal.
Yeah, it's changed, yep.
Will this ordinance include the non-standard vehicles as mentioned the bicycle before? I know the bicycle you're talking about. And will electric scooters, will all that be rolled in?
This ordinance is just golf carts. This is just golf carts. It originally started, JV had concerns with residents that lived near Crestview that were concerned about how they can go from one neighborhood to another. But, yeah, it's a lot.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Oh, yeah, Stephanie?
Is this in reaction to something that's happened, a problem that needs solved?
A lot of the individuals in Crestview, one, just the complete prohibition. Individuals in Crestview were concerned about getting from one end of the neighborhood to the other end of the neighborhood. They reached out to JV as well as some of his residents, where individuals were calling the authorities on people that were driving golf carts. And so it was dispatching police time to go out there, answer calls for people driving golf carts.
Do you know if there's been any accidents or anything like that?
Not that we were given from the bench.
All right,
So,
appreciate,
And-
thank you.
yeah, and we had talked about it from the bench for quite a while, and that was never brought up from the bench, so.
Okay. Thank you.
You take the 119th Street and 135th Street north of Maple, there are two lanes. They're 40 miles an hour. So they can't come down there, so they come out of the neighborhood, go down the 10-foot wide sidewalk, get to Auburn Hills Golf Course. Instead of putting their cart on a trailer, pulling it half a mile down the street, unloaded in the parking lot. I think there should be some accommodation given for golf carts, because about where I live, I've got one and everybody and their brother's got one and they ride around the neighborhood evening with them.
Yeah.
There should be some way where they go to the grocery store, they go to Sonic.
And the pushback after the original discussion and why it's being brought back up, I don't think anybody from the council thought it was gonna be contentious, and it wasn't contentious for the fact of people wanted it more prohibitive. It was contentious because people wanted it less prohibitive, when it was brought back up. And so all the community feedback that I got, and pretty resoundingly, was that we thought it was too prohibitive. They also had a misunderstanding that what they were doing was legal when it was in fact illegal already. They just assumed it was legal, so any prohibition.
Exactly. That's why I
thought
asked.
that-
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, they thought that we were adding additional regulations instead of actually making it easier for them to do. So that's what the pushback was happening. So this is good feedback. I don't want to keep hashing that. Thank you for being here and offering some commentary as well.
The $75 fee to register the thing. Purpose fee,
To recoup costs, so we know who has licenses for it, not.
recoup what costs?
Staffing costs.
And what are we,
Other communities were closer to $25, 75 was
what are
higher
we staffing?
for permitting, so you could register it.
You go,
That you had to register your golf cart.
gotta register your bicycle.
But you do have to, well, no, you don't have to register your bicycle.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I think you do.
Part of that fee is also to verify that insurance is on the vehicle.
Verify, who's gonna verify?
Staff.
When you get your yearly decal, that insurance will be verified. You have, current
Now,
insurance.
who's gonna go around and check whether he's got a,
Oh, let him finish, let him finish.
It'll also verify that if there's an accident and an officer shows up on scene, they can verify that there's a decal on there, and know who's responsible for that particular golf cart. Because if I let my daughter drive my golf cart and she involved in an accident and my neighbor calls the police and says, I don't know who this belongs to, they can look at that decal and say, yeah, it's Lieutenant Fort's golf cart. Are regular golf carts already insured? Do you register yours? I mean, I'm sure.
No, it's covered under my homeowner's liability insurance.
That's what I'm saying. That's part. I mean, most of the neighborhoods that are filled with them don't even have them insured. Yeah, real way.
Who's going
By, but it's by most street.
Who's going to go around, let us see whether you're registered with them?
Yes.
Most communities are $25. I did have questions why ours was 75, so I'll ask that question why ours is a higher margin too, but.
The other issue was if your golf cart's stolen, registered, we have a VIN.
Sir, I had 35 cars stolen last month. You find any of them?
Yeah, you find them every day. Yeah, but
You find 35 in this area?
I don't know where they were found, but we have a team that specifically goes out.
Probably the chances you find my golf cart, probably slim and net.
Okay, we'll move on from golf carts. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me though, and I'm happy to walk through it. Again, I think it's a little prohibitive. I want to make it less prohibitive. I also want to be responsible in whatever we pass as well. I did the homeless point and time count last week, and this is anecdotal, but Brooke and I had the downtown for, I believe, early for a few of the things, but Brooke stuck around. There was far less individuals on the streets at the time that we were there than I saw last year. Specifically around 3rd and Broadway, we saw 0 people sleeping outside of Open Door, which is the first time that I've ever seen that. And I go to church at First United Methodist Church right at the corner there. I've been outside, I drove by my church 5-6 times this week, and I've seen 0 people sleeping outside of Open Door. So it's obvious that people are using the shelter. They are using the shelter at a much higher rate. I know one night the shelter is pushing closer to 300. Capacity there is 266. And so people are actively using the shelter, which is a very positive thing. I'll be interested to see with the point in time count if we actually do see a reduction of people on the streets and people using the shelter. I think so, based on that. Brooke, do you have anything to add based on talking to people?
No, I think you did a really great summary. It was just really nice to like have something to give people for like taking our survey or answering our questions. So I shout out to United Way for putting that together because we had little bags of dog treats, we had bags with gloves and different food items. So I think they did a really good job planning it and working with some of the feedback from volunteers last year.
We did notice a significant uptick right before I had to leave the downtown Wichita meeting. Where people weren't sleeping on the streets, but they were leaving the shelter, and then we started seeing a lot of people maybe come downtown. So it started getting busier, probably around 8:30 is when I started seeing more people walk around the streets. It seemed that they were at the shelter, but then they started walking around the streets after that. Okay, one of the last things, sorry, the discussion last longer than I thought. West Street, you can see on page 3, item C, reconstruction of West Street from 47th to MacArthur. That'll give you instructions for people that live there. It'll just have a different route that you have to go take. So please pass it off. It'll probably take some people out of their way a little bit. And then this Saturday at 9:30, we'll be having a combined District 3 or District 4 breakfast at Christian Faith Center over on Pawnee, but further south Pawnee. And so please join us if you want. Mike always says he has the best food there.
I'm sorry, what day was that?
This Saturday.
Thank you.
Yeah, this Saturday at 9:30. And then last 2 things, I won't talk about it today, so I can let you out by 7 o'clock because we had a short meeting. Just percolate on this. There are 2 things that I want to look at over the course of the next few months. And one, that's bulk zoning of certain parts of the district, so specifically around Delano. We know that we want to see growth in Delano, specifically when it comes around restaurants, bars, taverns, and so bulk zoning that area that allows that as permissible use by right, instead of people always asking permission coming before the council. So that's one. And then in conjunction with that, looking at maybe a common consumption area along Douglas from the river to Seneca. Topeka has 2 of those currently. It seems to be working really well for Topeka. Obviously, we'll have to be in consultation with the police department and all the other neighborhood partners as well in Delano to see if it's something that makes sense for Delano and downtown. But think about those things, talk to other people about those as well, and let's see if we can figure out something that works for Wichita to try to make Delano a different destination area than an Old Town or than a College Hill or than a downtown. It also hits on our history of kind of being the Wild West saloon part if we do the Wild West safely, not safe Wild West. So think about those things. We won't talk about those today, but you can send me thoughts. And does anybody have any questions for me? Or anything else? Yep.
I met with the Goddard Superintendent, Mr. Henry, after our last meeting. About these developments. And the fact that everybody has to pay for these new schools. I don't think that's right. Like I said before, I paid for my share of 3 high schools in Goddard and 6 grade schools. And I don't know what the state statutes are. He needs to talk with them. But why can't they be set up on specials like the streets and sewer and paid for by the people in these 53 new additions? And they're like, John's always talking about his taxes, bringing up questions about a $30,000 toilet when we're missing the point. We're spending probably 10 or 12 million for new school buildings, which we don't need. The people that live in the district don't need those school buildings. It's the people moving in who need them, and they're the ones that should pay for them.
Let us know what Dr. Henry says when he gets back to you.
Yeah, he's not opposed to it. He just needs to know what will the state allow it. I was hoping to get John involved in the Republican Party up there, the legislature, Blasey, to see if, it can be done that way. School finance can be done that way. Because that's one of our biggest tax, the school bonds. I'm paying off 3 of them right now.
Is John on today?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't need to add any more. And the other thing, the city of Goddard has put a more moratorium on duplexes. They're not letting any more developers build any duplexes, any more approvals in the city of Goddard. If the city of Goddard can do it, why can't the city of Wichita?
Well, I imagine Gentry would love to have that discussion with you as well, with the Realtors Association at some point. But we can talk one-on-one about why I would have deep concerns about that. But we can get coffee and talk about that.
Because you go by these developments and they got half the roof covered with for rent. Every one of them's got for rent signs. All these new ones built in the last year that we've approved, they're not filling up. So why do we need to keep adding 55 more communities of them?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Anybody else? It's Alex.
7:03, is there a motion here? Make motion.
Is there a second?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for joining online too.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.